But I think everything has come out from the Fever and Minnesota game. I gotta say, bro, Minnesota, they are a really good team, very good defensive team. They play a very good game. Even going into the playoffs, it's probably one of the tougher matches the Fever probably come across. I'm gonna show you guys the analytics behind Minnesota, which makes it so difficult for the Fever to beat them, as well as everything that happened with the game. This Caitlin Clark now has the most games in a single season with 25, 5 assists, and 5 3-pointers. The fact she's a rookie breaking this many historic records at this pace is kind of crazy. Prior to the game, they spoke to Caitlin, and it says CC on how much imagination and simply trying stuff goes into her passes. And she said, I've always said I'm not a very creative person, but I feel like I'm a creative on a basketball court. As about the only time you'll see it. I don't know, I like to have fun making exciting plays.
I've always said, like, I'm not a very creative person, but I feel like I'm creative on the basketball court. It's about the only time you see it. In other parts of my life, like, I'm not very creative. So, I don't know, like, I like to have fun. Like, I don't know, make exciting plays. I think at times, like, I'm definitely a high risk, high reward person for sure. And, I don't know. I mean, it's not something like you're planning out as you're dribbling up the court. It kind of just happens naturally as it's flowing. Like, you're trying to use your eyes to mess with the defender and what they're thinking too. So, I always try some new things. I think it's finding a balance of like when it's okay to do that and during the games and when not. I think there were times versus LA. Like, I know there was a behind the back pass early or in the first or second quarter where we had already had a lot of turnovers. So just knowing, we got to take care of the ball there. So just finding that balance too.
Been hands down the best passer in the W as a rookie this season. Like, it's not even close. We already know how talented she is on the offense end, but you really got a game plan for her passing. She was a great passer in college, but I think in the W it just put so much light on how good of a passer she is. So she's been making some insane fucking passes. So this is another clip that came out. It says CC said August 26th, the wave that Atlanta game for the playoffs went unspoken in the locker room. Now it's identical for chasing down teams for better seeding. He said, I don't think that's something we really talk about. Honestly, the main focus every game right in front of us. So
the next matchup that we have, I don't think we were I wouldn't say like we were upset with how we played versus LA, but we still felt like we could have played a lot better. So I felt like there was a lot of things you could go back and learn from. And I think tonight, coming out from the start and setting the tone, taking care of the ball, getting a good start will be huge for us. Because I thought versus LA, like, we kind of had a careless start. Like, we had some turnovers. We just weren't crisp, and I thought that kind of carried throughout the game. And obviously we found a way to win, but I thought it could have been a lot better for us. So I think for us, it's just the main focus is just every game right in front of us. I think that's kind of been what Christy has been preaching too, is every single game matters. Every single game we want to improve. And I think everybody's done a really good job of approaching it that way too.
Now, before I get to her comments on the Minnesota game, I just want to say, in Minnesota, when you look at like these like analytics, they're like a really impressive team. To them in the playoffs is probably one of the biggest challenges they'll come across. For scoring defense, Minnesota's third in the WNBA this season with 76.5. That's points allowed on average. Points allowed per 100 possession is 95.6. With field goal percentage defense, Minnesota's number one. Opponent field goals made 28. Opponents' field goal attempts per game 69. That's leading to 41% shooting. This is for their 3-point defense. They're also number one for defense for 3-point shooting. They pretty much lock that shit down too. Collectively, they're arguably the best defensive team in the WNBA. Get opponents assist to turnovers, like they're number one in that as well. Look at Minnesota compared to the other teams for opponents assist to turnovers. So that's a team they got to figure out come playoff time. So especially they run into them, a really good put together team. I think out of all the teams of the WNBA, I think Minnesota had the best, game plan for Caitlin, because you can't shut down Caitlin especially on the offensive end. Take away her scoring. She's the best passer in WNBA. You know what I'm saying? Eliminate the options she has. She can get 30 or 40, so you can't really shut down Caitlin, but they do an amazing job of containing her. So that's what you do. Like, when a player is so good, then you have to contain them. But on paper, 25-8, whatever, that's cool. Like, I understand that, but you can't stop them. So the next option is, okay, how can we contain them so they do what they do, but we still get the win? So I think that's what they figured out for the Fever. So I think on the Fever's end, they just have to figure out a way to collectively have everybody chip in so they can get a W. But they definitely could beat Minnesota. If they run into each other in the playoffs, that'd be a great series. These were Caitlin's comments. Honestly, I thought we played really good in the fourth. My turnover and transitions, what I felt like really kind of ended the momentum for us, made a really bad read.
Defensively, I think get a stop. I mean, it's going to be hard to win a game when they outscore you by 17 points in a quarter. It's impressive that we got it back to 1 point. I thought we played really good in the fourth, and my turnover and transition is what I felt like really kind of ended the momentum for us. I think it was 78-77. I got a block and a steal, and we were running in transition, and honestly made just a really bad read. I thought the girl was going to come over. She never ended up coming over. So I think defensively is where it has to start. Our first quarter defense was really good. Every quarter besides that was third quarter was bad. So I think just continue to get better. But we had moments, especially to begin the fourth quarter too, that were a lot better than the other two.
I think she knows this is the only team that really got their number. Figured it out. Like, okay, we can't really slow down Caitlin. Like, there's nothing you can really do to shut her out completely for the Fever. So let's just figure out a way to contain her, and then, she's going to do what she does, but we could just figure out a way to contain her. We still have a shot at winning. You can see it, how they're guarding her. I found their comments interesting. These are the comments that Minnesota made prior to the game. After this, I'll get to the highlights for Naphessa and Caitlin. I'll show both of their highlights, but
8 points in the paint in the second half, right? After 26 in the first half. When you get 26 points in the paint, your field goal percentage is going to be high. When your field goal percentage is high, your defense is better. It was just a bad combination for us. And really committing, they shot 35%, 8 points in the paint. Like that's who we need to be. We really committed to the game plan. And I was appreciative that we found our will on that end.
He's right, because that third quarter, they made some really good adjustments. I'm not going to lie. So they played a great game. The Fever do run into them in the playoffs. That's a team they really do got to figure out, because they're good. They're really good, man. I'm not going to lie. They're a really good team. That'll be a tough one, but we'll see where it goes. I'm going to play the highlights. Let me know your thoughts on everything. As always, it's your boy. I'm going to play Naphessa first, and I'll play Caitlin.
Just a nice touch around the rim. I've always been able to indicate she already knows she's got the ball.
Fever shooters in the Minnesota perimeter defense will be. Two teams have split the season series, a game apiece here so far. Both games were in Minnesota. There are turnovers here out of the timeout. McBride is open, and this is on a three. Here out of the Olympic break. It's one of the top defenses in the league as Collier.
But just kind of the execution right now for the Fever. Again, it's not always about the mix or the make.
They got a better look out of their possession. Collier straight away, knocks down a 3 points. Indiana led for most of the first half, and the Fever give it away way too easily there. Here's Collier going coast to coast and banking it home. Trying to pick up the intensity defensively. Here's Williams firing it inside. Collier hangs it late.
Shots aren't falling.
Good, man.
With that high low for Minnesota, it's been.
So, hats off to the Indiana Fever.
What do you notice Wednesday? She was right there, though, with 18. Clark look ahead and finds Boston. Defending bigger than her size. And once again, it's Clark.
To stay with that tempo. Maybe even tired to be out of it.
Clark working on Natisha Heidemann, who's just checked in. She's a good defender, too, here in the first quarter. Clark looking aggressive. Clark launches, gets into a 3 and can't connect. And here's Clark off to the races. It's a 2-on-1. She'll bounce for Mitchell. Mitchell got it to go.
Quarters in between half to come out with the exact same energy. And especially, that's one way to do it.
New pro out of Marquette. Mid-second rounder who's really found a spot in the WNBA. It's Clark there. She was so impactful early. Clark the hesitation. Clark the floater. Clark on the shot fake into a double team. Lofts it up for Boston. In this year than each of the last 2 years combined. Oh, look at Mitchell. Clark play and catch. Season long. Fever had their way with it in the first quarter. Clark trying to get Indiana started, and maybe that'll help. Break there. Clark, Mitchell, wide open. Boston setting up Clark. ABC. Clark looking for space. Beats it into Boston. Boston one bounce, then lays it in. Struggling to get anything going offensively here in the fourth. Oh, it's
Take a look at it.
a silencer from Bridget Carlton. Boston.